So welcome. How many of you attended and was in that whole workshop badge series? Thank you. Oh my, you guys didn't do the workforce badge series? Oh my God, I slaved over to get it. No. So we had a number of series of workshops, webinars that was based on workforce. So the first one was WIOA, Know Your Partners. And we had someone coming in to talk about apprenticeships, how to talk to trainers, how to talk to employers, ESL transition, all relating to workforce. And it was part of the COABE badge series behind every employer. So today, what we're going to do, and this is going to be really great because none of you attended, is a culmination of what we learned. And we've got real life scenarios, and you're going to help the person with what you know about workforce. So
I also want to thank you for coming to the last session of the day because I know how tempting it is to skip it. So thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Um, I'm Natasha Allen. I am from the Michigan Works Association, obviously from Michigan my whole life. My second time in Texas, though. First time was in San Antonio, and Dallas is wonderful. So, how many of you are from Dallas or Texas? One, two, three. Oh, all right. So, um, I have about 18 years of experience in workforce development. I actually started working in the welfare reform program and worked my way up to a COO position of a local workforce development agency. I decided to take a position at the Michigan Works Association because I wanted to impact workforce development on a state and a national level, and this is a great opportunity to do that. In fact, had I not taken that position, I would not be here. So at a national conference. So thanks for having me. We at the association, we're kind of like, we don't deliver many programs. We're more like, you know how like you have a dental association, right? But all the dentists belong to it, but people at the association aren't doing the work. That's us. So we do three things. Our top three things: we advocate on a state, local, and federal level. In fact, I have two of my colleagues are at the National Association of Workforce Board meeting in Washington, D.C., talking and advocating on behalf of our system for funding. We provide professional development for all of our members. So we're big believers in making sure that if we're in workforce development, we want to make sure that we're right at the top of whatever is innovated and no worries. Whatever is new and innovative and cutting edge. So we do that for all of our members. And our members just don't include our 16 Michigan Works agencies, but also our partners. Karen would be one of our partners, our adult ed providers, other associations. So it's not just Michigan Works agencies, but all workforce development. And the last thing we do is we really bridge partnerships between our state partners and our local partners. So we actually meet with our state partners as a workforce development system once a month. We get them in the room, we talk about policy, we talk about what's working, we talk about what's not. And that I know that doesn't happen everywhere. So we really try to bridge that gap. We also talk to a lot of our federal partners at USDOL too. So I am happy to be here.
and she's just wonderful, and it's so great. She's on the workforce committee for COABE, and so I said, hey, I have to do this presentation. It's a culmination of the badge workshop series, and then she was like, okay, I'll do it with you. Said, what's this all about? Oh, I'll do it. And so I was like, thank you, Natasha. She's super great. We pulled together the PowerPoint, and she's really behind just this whole session. So I'm super excited. My name's Karen Govan. I'm the Senior Director of Workforce Development in Detroit. We have multiple things that we do from job training. We also are Title II school. We have youth programming. We do financial education through Ann Casey. And we do, oh my gosh, we just do a lot. But and we also are an American Job Center. And this is how we're associated. And when she talks about like what Michigan Works in the Association does, it's almost like COABE, right? Except for it's the state of Michigan specific to the American Job Centers, which we call Michigan Works. And so she does all that supporting all the centers. And then in the end, really just supporting our programs, especially our Title II classrooms for ESL and then all our job trainings that we couldn't do without them. So overview of the session. So we're hoping to do, like I said, we're going to talk real briefly about Behind Every Employer. How many of you checked out COABE's website or know about the Behind Every Employer? Yes. Oh, that's really great. That's really great. And then we're going to have these think tank exercises, which are a culmination of all that we've picked up and all that we learned. And you'll be able to do a lot of the exercises. And then with the takeaways and then Q&A. So just one thing, though, I'm going to just say the logistics. So originally, we had these paper that we were going to put up on the walls, and it's just not sticking. And so I thought, oh, and this is kind of a theater style instead of round table, so it would be really hard to have everyone interact. And so we're going to have you working in groups, but we stole these in the hallway, these little Hyatt Regency pads. And so we're going to have the groups, take notes and to be able to answer the questions on the pads, and then we're going to just report out. And pens. Yes. So behind every employer, I don't know if you want to pull up the. So what is it? And I'm glad to hear that some of you have went and explored the COABE website to know what it is. So COABE really, and listened to the field, and what it was one of the major things that adult education programs had a problem with, and that really was employer engagement. How do we get employers involved? We know they need to do this. We know that when we do job training or we're helping our students get their GED, they want to get a job. How are we going to make that connection so that we can help those employers as well as our students? And so COABE created this Behind Every Employer initiative. And it wasn't just COABE and adult ed people. It really was spearheaded by employers. So the employers met as an alliance, and they created what they thought would be a great, useful tool for helping adult ed programs. So if you go to the website, sorry, so it's no, it's, you got it. I think you have to scroll. Well, I think if you go to coabe.org, you'll see that Behind Every Employer initiative. And so, but it is a separate, like, you can go right to the website. And so it talks a little bit about what it is. It's this alliance with employers, the first steps into making that engagement. And there's two things that you can do as an adult ed program. The first is that you can sign up for it, because what this does is it allows employers to go to the website, the Behind Every Employer, and then they can connect with you, because you would put your name and information in there, and it goes into the magical website. And then if they're looking for an adult ed program in their area, your program would pop up for them. So, and the next thing you could do is, if you have an employer that you work with, they should actually register too. They should put their information in there too, so that they can be part of that collaborative. And then they can go and then they can search and they can use the resources that are available. The Behind Every Employer also has a lot of resources. So when we want to sit there and talk about, oh, what's my return on investment? How am I going to sit there and know that our program's valuable? They have information that will help you in talking about the impact that you make with students and in the community. And again, it also has a toolkit. Oh, there. Is that it? The toolkit, yep, it's right there beyond the first meeting. Yep. Yep. And so one of the things that we did last year, I was working with Anson Green. I'm sure you've seen him around. He's a tall guy with a cowboy hat working for Tyson. So we worked together and we created this toolkit. How do you talk to employers? What's the first step? And so we've been, this is available, and it talks about being able to talk in their language. When we sit there and we talk about MSGs, EFLs, they don't care about that. That's not what they know. And so it's able to understand their language, understanding what their end goal is, what's their critical points, and how can you help them? What can they get so that they can add value, but not necessarily have to pay out a lot, and it's a win-win. And so it goes through this whole, how to do it, what kind of questions to ask for. Is this the right business that you want to work with? Do they align with your mission? I know that I worked with employers that when I went and visited them, I said, no, I can't go there. I can't work with them. I just can't do it. And so we never had made that collaboration or connection. But it's how to figure out what to do. What's that first meeting look like? Did you do your research? Do they have a lot of people that are retiring? Do they need upskilling? Or do they looking for critical people right when they first come in? And then there's a checklist. at the very end. Are you ready for them? And so it's like, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you know this? And so you can check off your program to make sure that you're ready to have that engagement with employers. So, yeah, it's, yeah, yep. Woo-hoo. Yeah, there we go. So then, are you ability to provide flexible scheduling? What is your materials? Are you using their materials? Is it contextualized? Is it going to help them? Have you talked to HR? Because, can these students be released? Do you have teachers? We worked at a plant in Lansing that made the bumpers for Camaros. And they were super excited about having us there to help their students for ESL. And at first started, they're going to come. We're going to let them have release time, and we're going to give them shirts and blah, blah. And then day one, well, you know what, we can't release them, and they're not going to get shirts. But, we can do it in between their shift. And I was like, okay, forget it. We got to find a teacher now that can come in early in the morning or, late when they're shifting, doing the shift change. So disappointing, right? Because you get the students that are eager. We still had some that, attended, but okay. So that's okay. Now we're ready to go back. Okay. And also, behind every employer, we also have the podcast with Jeff and Anson. And so they get employers, they get people that come in and they talk. Very informal, very informational, super fun to listen to. And those are all archived. So if you ever want to listen to anything, you can always go back on a specific topic or maybe a specific employer. They've talked to a lot of key people that are in education and employment.
And best of all, it's free, right? So all that work has been done for you. It is free. So there's a lot of great resources. I would encourage you to check that out. We wanted to put this maybe infographic up for you. Maybe we do. Clicker is not working. Yeah, we'll do it that way. So we have you will find this on the website, but this infographic gives you some stats. So 55 million job openings in 2020. So that's obviously a little bit old, but we know that there are still lots of job openings, right? And 65% of those will require some post-secondary education. It talks about CTE and how you can incorporate CTE. We were chatting ahead of time. We were already doing kind of a little think tank thing before you got in here about pre-apprenticeship and how even some of this can align with peer apprenticeship and get your students some credentials, right? In Michigan, we operate from a demand-driven system. We have since the early 2000s. And what that means is we really seek to meet the employer need first. And I know that kind of like goes against everything that's in us, right? Because we want to meet the job seeker need first or your participant need first. But if we meet the employers where they're at and we identify what their need is, by meeting their need, we ultimately meet our participants' need, we meet the job seekers' need, and we meet our community needs. And so it's really kind of a shift in mindset, which again is why it's so important for you to be involved with employers in the roles that you're in. So now you get to do some work. All right, so think tank. I actually looked up the definition of think tank, and it literally is groups of experts who study and offer advice about specific topics. That's what it means. And that's what you are. So that's what we're going to do. We have 4 scenarios. We're going to put you into some groups. You will have to identify a recorder and identify a spokesperson. They can be the same person. They don't have to be different. Ground rules. Everyone gets an opportunity to contribute. So I'm going to put a scenario up here. Some of us are processors. So that means we're going to have to think about it for a little bit. That's okay, right? Give people time to process. Some of us are extroverts, and that's me. I'm like the golden retriever. I want to be everybody's best friend, right? So we're going to start talking right away, right? Some of us are introverts, and we're going to wait for an opportunity to talk. Just make sure that when you're in your group dynamic, everyone has an opportunity to contribute. We will give you a 2-minute warning. Oh, I put reminder in there because I didn't like the word warning, and I said it anyway. You'll be given a 2-minute reminder to wrap up conversations, and then we're going to report out key takeaways. And what we're hoping you will get from this is ideas. We talked about this. What did we spend 5 minutes chatting, maybe? And she was like, "Oh, I have some stuff to take away already." So even the 5 minutes that we spend doing this, I'm hoping that you'll have some takeaways, that you'll have some strategies that maybe you can apply. I do know I love local flexibility. It's like one of the things we stand on in Michigan. So I'm sure you do in your states too. You might not be able to do it exactly the way another state does it. But gosh, if you can take just a little bit and then apply it to how your state does it and bring a new idea back, I think that's a win, right? So we're going to divide. Karen will put you into groups because she's better at it because she's an educator. I am not. Group activity, right? You're right. You're right. My son is a first grade teacher, so fun. And then for those of you that are online, we have a Google Doc for you that we'll put in the chat. And then we will put up our first scenario. It's roasting in here. I'm gonna open that door because it's so hot. Oh,
So once you go into your group, talking. Oh. Oh, I love this. Everyone's already talking and introducing themselves. Thank you so much for doing that. Get to know each other, get to know where they're from. And because a lot of you, like she said, like Natasha said, you're coming from different states, different perspectives. Maybe you're an employer, maybe you work with youth. And also what's going to make this session kind of unique, it is hybrid. So we do have 15 people online. They've got the questions and they'll be working. We're going to send them the scenarios, and then they're going to be doing it, and then we'll be reporting out for them too. So we've got another group.
yeah. You could probably put them all in there if you want. I didn't want to do that, but I guess it doesn't matter, right?
Oh, because they might check, go ahead. Oh.
Yeah, but
And then they can just type in real time? Or
Yep,
add
yes.
comments in the doc or?
in the doc,
Yeah,
real time. And then can I talk to them? I will in a second. So our folks online, if our friend Patrick is putting in your directions. So if you cannot access those Google Docs, let us know. But those are documents you should be able to put in your information live. And then we will pull it up and try to pull away some key takeaways because they took away your opportunity to talk. So we would rather have heard you, but
The scenarios you're gonna give us, or we have to look at the,
I'm going to put them up, but we're putting something in the chat right now, but
Okay.
they are those same ones.
so we have to pick one?
Nope,
Nope,
we're going to
we
give
do
you the
all
first
of
one. We're going to give you all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yep. All right, we're going to put the first scenario up for you. You are, yes. So you will all do the same scenario. So if you looked ahead and got confused in your slides, they made me put them in there earlier, so it is what it is. But we're all going to do the same scenario. So scenario 1, a manufacturing company has open positions for machine operators and quality control specialists, but struggles to find candidates with the required technical skills. Many applicants are eager but lack formal training in advanced machinery and quality standards. So the questions will not change around each scenario. They'll be the same for the next one. So once you get used to it, it'll probably go faster. Questions. How can you help this company overcome their challenges? How does adult education services help in career pathways? What partners should be brought into the picture to help employers with their challenges? And what challenges would your program face when helping employers find the right and that should say employee typo. Neither one of us caught. And how are there any other partners that can be brought in? Right? The best way to meet needs is to involve partners. So we want to get you thinking about who else needs to be brought into this scenario. All right, ready, set, go. We'll give you a 2-minute reminder. All right, 30 seconds. I'm giving you an extra 30 seconds. Yeah. We don't have to do all. I did too. I thought I was like, oh, we didn't spend that much time doing it. Yeah. Is it not letting you? Put in the chat. Yep. Tell him to put in the chat. It's like we didn't disable the chat. What? They can't chat?
Put it in Q&A.
Well, now, but that should have been done already. Okay, thank you.
Tell them they can fill it out, and then we'll start with the groups. Here, let me start the group. All right, time's up. Thank you. Thank you. We've got the first case scenario. So now we know that the next 2 or 3 will be a lot easier. So because we have a group that's doing it virtually, I'm going to pass around the microphone because they cannot hear you unless you speak into the microphone. And so we're going to have each group respond to the questions. So we'll start with this group here. So you've got someone who is going to report out, right?
Yes, that's me. Yes. Hi, everybody. So let's see, key takeaways. So number one, we identified, of course, that the need is for advanced qualified employees. So people who are working in as a quality control specialist and machine operator, they need to have been trained well on the job initially. How do we help the company overcome their challenges? First of all, we ask them, where are they getting their employees? Like, how are they looking for their employees? How are they engaging in the community to find those employees? Maybe they're not looking in the right places. Are we looking at the transferable skills potentially? Is that being well, explored, how they might look in different fields? And then the partners that are brought into the picture to help employers with their challenges. Well, so the unions, building trades unions, apprenticeship programs, adult education programs specifically, American Job Centers, professional organizations that might be interested in partnering because they want to be able to you just increase the field, that type of thing. I know other people have tons of answers, so I want to be quick. And then other partners that can help. What did we come up with that? Workforce services. I'm going to pass it because I know there's a lot more in the room. And also we just are like tumbling all over each other with all of our ideas.
It's exciting. There's a lot to talk. Yes, 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 yes. And I liked what you said that, you're looking at your partners and you're looking at the trades, you're looking at all these different, and you're using a variety and scope, and also using their American Job Centers. Yep. Who's
So we can help overcome some of the challenges with meeting with the employer right away and ask what skills gaps there are. And also, I might skip down to 4. how many hours of training are required for their new employees? That might be a major question. Partners that could help would be the manufacturing board, the workforce board, by chance, and then um, other partners that could be brought in would definitely be a career navigator that may be under the Texas or the State Workforce Commission in partnership with the adult ed program, because our adult ed program had a career navigator under the workforce board.
Great. Thank you. Very thoughtful. And I like that you added, what are the skills? What's necessary? I mean, how can we even start until we know what the skills are? So who's the reporter here?
All four? Okay, so the first one, how can you help this company overcome their challenges? In here, it gives you a brief, idea of what their challenge is. So they can't find people and they may lack formal training. So in terms of recruitment, I would start with internally seeing if there's any candidates that could be upskilled before going out and recruiting. And this is some of the issue we see programs a lot of time. They're spending money going outside of their organization when they already have viable candidates in there, but they're not recruiting from within first. The other thing is lacking formal education. So this may be that some of the individuals have been out of school for some time. So providing that support that is necessary with adult education students in terms of contextualized instruction and wraparound services. These are things that most AEL programs already have that they can bring into these businesses and just like with the other students that they're working with. How does adult education services help in career pathways? So support with contextualized instruction, upskilling, funding for training, instructors, all of those things. What partners should be brought into the picture to help employers with their challenges? I would identify who the stakeholders are. So who is everybody that will be impacted by people, coming in and getting this training and stuff like that. So there's going to be multiple levels within the organization. Now it's very important to bring in stakeholders because you want this program to be successful, and you can't do that if you aren't communicating with other areas of the organization. You want people to be aware of what's going on, especially when it comes to challenges with the organization like time constraints, funding. Why is it important to invest in our people so that we can have more return on investment in the long run? What challenges would your program face when helping employers find the right employer? Are there any partners helping employers find the right employee? Are there any partners that can help? So the challenge is finding the right employee. Is the assumption is that just because someone wants to do the job, that they're qualified for the training, right? We want to help everybody, but we know in AEL that sometimes you have to be at a certain level of reading or math. Do we need to upskill in the learning before they participate in the training? That's a major challenge. There's also incentive, keeping students on track and retention to completing the training. So what support are you providing along the way, and what incentives outside of just learning are these employees going to be getting?
Thank you. Thank you. You had a lot of great ideas and how to answer the challenges. And I liked what you said about looking internally. I think that's key.
Hi, I'm Mandy. I'm from Michigan, as are many of the people I'm sitting with. And we have someone from Alabama and someone from Indiana. And I think just to keep it short, the main takeaway that I'm grabbing out of this conversation that's sort of happening around me is that do the time to make the research on what is actually working for what it is you want to do. Take the time to find who's doing it already and listen to them and ask them for help on communicating about what may work for what you're doing that may not be working. So we're having a conversation about how our state funding works here. And when the funding is blocked, it's really difficult to get anything done. So if there are models out there where they're already doing the wheel and the wheel is rolling and rolling well, let's follow that. Another one I think is understanding what your team strengths are in the network that you already do have and assigning tasks appropriate to that. So one thing that we talked about too is that a lot of employers don't have assessment. They don't know who's literate and who's not. So they throw somebody into training and that might just break down because they didn't realize that that person doesn't have the comprehension skills or the reading skills or the numeracy skills in order to be able to do what it is they need to do.
Good point. Yes, I like that. You're going to try to get them a job, but then you don't understand their skill level. Did you have anyone online?
Yeah, a couple comments online. One was that really understanding the employer, kind of what their needs and their values are. So going back to the assessment of what exactly is the outcome that they're wanting to achieve here, and perhaps kind of examining what are the parameters of the program and training opportunity. And then Marlo also commented, yes, partnering with the community college, adult education, workforce development to provide training, career navigation, professional candidates, and really providing that wraparound supports, connecting participants with support such as childcare, transportation, and others to eliminate barriers.
Yes. Boy, you're like right on the line. How many of you know about talent pipeline management? Because you guys are like almost speaking that language, right? TPM? Yes, yes, that's what it is, right? You're going to the employer, what's employer's issue and concern. You're looking at the end product and their critical skill gaps and what they need to do. And also, one of the things too that no one kind of brought up was maybe you gotta look at their job description. What is it that they posted? What does it look like? Is it bias? Are you already eliminating people? Is it a credential or is it a degree versus something that might not be, yeah, it might be a skill that they could do. Yes. Yes, right. So sometimes it's just going that basic into looking at the job description.
Oh, you can't hear me. I just really appreciate that because I lean very heavily. I almost challenge the whole premise that we start with the employer's needs because I'm not sure that they're doing the the deep dive reflection to understand their own needs and why they are what they are. And frankly, if their needs are a profit and a bottom line, then that's not going to align with the needs of the students that we're working with. And I'm probably not going to be as interested in them as an employer. But that being said, they're also not educators and they really do need to upskill themselves when it comes to offering trainings or asking people to have those skills. So it's a growth opportunity all the way around.
I agree. Careful planning from the employer needs to start, not because they have a deficit right now. They need to be looking at their data. They need to look at who's retiring. They need to look at who their pool is and then start thinking long term, right? What would they need? And then we do have someone who online who said that, yes, they're going through the TPM training. Yay. Cool.
I got to go through it as a pilot, so it's been a little bit, but we use it a lot. Yeah, I was in the first round, so I got my pin. You get a pin now. We didn't get a pin, we got a plaque, but I did get a pin now. So I think we're going to skip to scenario because we're going to run out of time. Scenario 3. So, a healthcare employer struggles to retain entry-level staff due to limited career growth opportunities. Many employees leave within the first year, so some high turnover, resulting in high turnover and increased recruitment costs. So, go to your 4 questions, talk as a group, and then we'll report out. All right, here's your 2-minute warning. I'm sorry, reminder. Oh. All right, 30 seconds. All right. Okay. Wrap up your conversations. I'm going to start in a different spot. I'm going to hit this group back here. Sorry, totally just threw you under the bus, didn't I? Okay. Are you ready? You're ready. He says you're ready. Who's the spokesperson?
Okay, so we kind of got in deep in this conversation. The assumption is that they're leaving because there's no way to move up. I think there needs to be a deeper conversation because sometimes just the environment is not healthy. It's not always about I need to move up, right? It's, do I actually like working here? Do I like the people that I'm working with? Are they investing in me and do they see value in me? So really tapping into that. So what could we provide as AEL? I'm going to kind of skip through, I'm not going to go through each question, but what could we provide in AEL? Well, we can offer a lot of other things to invest in our students. So we can offer family literacy, computer literacy, a lot of other service, the professional development in terms of career exploration, getting to know yourself. I mean, we're just looking at getting them past the first year, right? If you can get them past the first year and, you know, it's benefiting the employee, but it's also benefiting the employer, it's a win-win situation, right? And then I think if people know that you care about them, you're investing in them, one, they'll probably want to stay with you longer, but they're also going to be better equipped if they do decide to go somewhere else. So we were just thinking about those things.
So what I heard you say is you do more than one thing, but everybody thinks you do one thing, right? I mean, how many of you work at a place that's like that? They're like, for us, it's you're the unemployment agency. So not the unemployment agency, right? We do what we do mostly is training, right? So there's so much more to offer. So, you know, making sure employers know that there's lots of services that you offer. And I heard work culture mentioned quite a few times. I just did some mock interviews and top 3 things. The first thing I think probably 98% of them mentioned was work culture. That was important to them. Yeah. So, all right. Work culture. Yep. Not pay, ironically. And then when I asked them about pay, they said, I just want to be able to pay my bills and live. It wasn't about making a lot of money, which I thought was really interesting, right? Anyway.
Millennials. Essentially what we talked about most was how to optimize on the partnerships and how to take advantage of those employer networks. So understanding what sort of associations are in conjunction with the employers that are already in practice and building those relationships more, and whatever trainings they're using, using a conglomeration that works for your particular student body. Am I missing anything?
So what I hear you saying is partnerships are really going to be key. All right. All right, this group back here. Who's my spokesperson?
So one question we asked ourselves, what is the vision for the staff that's employing the new workers that are leaving? And is there some kind of network that if it's a hospital system, if there are 4 or 5 hospitals in the region, can there maybe be a consultant that's called in once a year, or a trainer that's called in once a year that can then plug them in whenever the job opens up? Another question was, what skills are they missing to grow, so that they're not frustrated and move on to something else? So yeah, it's about the skills and the opportunities. Where can they be plugged in, so they're prepared, and looking ahead, both the employer and the employee. So
So what does that career pathway look like, right? I started here. How do I get there? And does the employer even know that? They may not. They may not know that. They might assume that everybody knows. Yeah, absolutely. But you have to say it into the mic.
When I invite employers to join our class, because I'm a career navigator, so I invite employers to join our class to speak with the students. I always ask them, can you share your career pathway with the students? So I encourage the students to ask every question possible when they're in joining, in terms of salary, how can you get growth in a company, which career pathway. So I always ask them to be ready to answer that question for the students. So this is important because they start in an entry level, but they don't want to be in the entry level. So most of for example, in the healthcare, we have students like doctor, physicians. They start like in a lower level, but then they want to grow. So I always make sure they share that, the career pathway.
That's great. And you're preparing them, right? So if they don't know the answers to those questions, they're like, oh.
Just a really quick thought. I think sometimes we hear like that they don't have the skills, and what that really breaks down to is those employability skills, right? Or, I don't know, what do you even call them? Soft skills, they're not soft, but employability skills, something like that. And of course, that's a component of our IETs. And I don't think employers understand that a lot of times, that that is actually a component of our IETs, is that workplace readiness and teaching those employability skills. And I had one program that did something with an employer that I thought was, really, this is brilliant. They promised the employer that if those were the skills that were lacking, that they would take that student back and retrain them on those employability skills, if that was what the identified barrier was for them to continue to grow.
Like a guarantee. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. So our conversation was very similar, went in a similar track. I think an exciting question or suggestion, exploration that Arthur is making in his community is, how can the partnerships for healthcare providers look like a network, so that an entry-level staff position is not equated with a temporary job, which happens so often. You're not just trying to collect bodies and have enough people, but actually you are looking at your um, what you as an employer need from your employees, like what the services you're providing could be different from another healthcare provider that has another like more sophisticated, I don't know exactly the right language here, but might need more skills, right? So you train, you work, the person develops, and then you know they're going to move on into that network and get another job in another place. So you get really good at the entry level staff. And then, so how can you work collectively rather than competitively? And I think it's an important question to put back on employers. Another piece, I agree, the employability skills, we agree, if they're not ready and they're dealing with all the barriers that come along, and oftentimes, like in Kansas, you do not need to have a GED or a high school diploma in order to get into many of these roles, and that's a big issue. So the training there and preparing them well to have a job so that they can look for themselves to the next step and see a horizon for themselves. Oftentimes they don't. And of course they're going to leave. Why stay? That's their mind isn't staying. Their mind isn't, is not in it for the long haul. What else am I missing? Oh, and then also sitting down with past employees to find out what it was that had them leave. These exit interviews are just so little utilized to find out. And they probably would get a few people coming back if they found out. And then, of course, it's about training, identifying the right people for the job. I'm not sure. It's a little distracting. It's just, we would love to hear the whole conversation. It gets a little distracting. So I would love to pass the mic if you have something that's burning, really. Okay. And then, yeah, I think that's it. Anything I'm forgetting? Okay.
But this kind of goes along with what this conversation was we were talking about how we've got a program with ACC where we have students that essentially do almost like an internship with the local hospital where they're getting paid as incentive to move forward in what they want to do while they're finishing their GED. They're paid. So, yeah.
12 hours a week, they'll get paid $14 an hour in our lab. It's right into what they want to do. And the employer's paying.
Yeah, to maybe fill some of those gaps that they have. So maybe some of these folks can move forward. I heard in all of your conversations, it's about networking, right? So it's about knowing people in your communities, in your state that can help. Did we have anything online, Patrick? Really quick, and then I promise we're going to let you go soon.
Yeah, a lot of the same conversation with a few interesting points. Nathan said the employer may want to consider investing in a benefits package or something to keep staff. One of the challenges is perhaps sometimes high schooling students may not have good workplace skills. I think Marilyn was kind of talking about that. They need that kind of employability. Or some low scoring students have those employability skills and trying to move them through as a cohort. And then Marlo just said that it's really important that those wraparound supportive services are available and provided.
Sure. I just have a quick question. So how are the candidates identified? Those who are getting their GED and are also being trained and are being paid. Do you have a selection process or?
It's good steps. People online, good steps. So the hospital selects them, and basically what happened was they were so desperate for bodies that they are bringing us their like dietary janitorial staff and putting them on a 90-day probationary period where they needed to finish. But they then also get to feel out these employees. And we had one that, bless her, she could not pass math for the life of her. And she got like 3 extensions. Our state GED person opened up so she could take it a 4th time, and she finally passed. But they wanted her so badly because she was a great employee. And it has led to, I mean, not all of them are following the healthcare track necessarily, but it has led to some of them doing like CNA or next steps. But it's the hospital, and it was out of a desperate need that they're willing to pay $14 an hour to work on your GED. Yeah. Right. Right. And right now there are no employees to be had. So if you find somebody, yeah, you're going to try to hold on to them.
So I wanted to bring up two things that are two partners that I didn't hear mentioned today that you may want to think about including. I didn't hear K-12 CTE mentioned, and that's a good partnership that could meet an employer need. And I actually didn't hear corrections mentioned as a good partnership, right? They have a lot of these training programs in-house, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the problem with the last scenario is that we would have no one that could be apply for that position that, 'cause as everyone is a felon.
Yeah, and as we talk about talent pipeline management, right? It may not meet the need right now, but do you think that need's going to go? I mean, you can put a Band-Aid on it, right? But there's a bigger need there. What is the bigger need? There's not people in that talent pipeline. So if I can work with CTE, corrections, whatever it might, adult education, right? To or alternative ed even to get those folks in that talent pipeline, I'm still meeting that employer need, and I may be working with my AJC to put the Band-Aid on it to get people in there right away, right?
One last thing about that though, just because we work with people with barriers like at the felony level, personal felony and things that disqualify them from the healthcare environment, but there's so much, it's so nuanced that information about it can come directly from corrections to help you inform your student, who often are going by hearsay, and that is a problem.
Yeah, and I when I thought of this, I was actually thinking about the manufacturing scenario that we had the first time. But I didn't want to. I didn't know how many scenarios we'd get through, so I didn't want to feed you information to come on the next ones. But yeah, and some. I was just going to say, and there's a way to get some of that expunged too. So. Thank you for all of your participation today and all of the great feedback. We were super encouraged to hear you all view it really from that employer demand point of view. That was fantastic. If you want to connect or you have any questions, our information is up here. Enjoy your evening activities. Yeah. And the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.